What's up, guys? People here, and today on Trad Method Monday, I'm going to be talking about something that I kind of touched on and explained differently before, and that's how to attach leathers to a lacrosse head. Now, today we're not going to so much talk about um, the differences between removable, non-removable, and whatnot. I'm basically going to talk about it a little bit and then show you a new way that I haven't really seen in the lacrosse world before. I've seen it in other things, in the leatherworking world. In fact, I actually found it on dog a dog leash on the handle, and it was a leather dog leash, and um, this technique was actually used to make the loop for the handle in order to hold on to the leash. So I thought it was really cool looking, and I was like, man, if that could be incorporated into a lacrosse head, how well will it perform? What will it do to a non-edited or changed leather? So like sometimes you snip pieces of leather off and then you have less of a leather, you have less length and whatnot, and then that causes problems later on. But so as of right now, there are really two major ways to attach leather. And they're not officially the names, but we're gonna make them names for the sake of this video. Although it'd be kind of cool if they carried on and became the names of these things. But for the sake of this video, that's what they're going to be called. The first one is very simple. You see a lot of, I guess you could say, amateurs doing it. Or just a lot of people out there do it because that's how they learned, and which is completely fine. But you see a lot of beginners do it because they don't really understand the whole weaving and whatnot, which is the second way I'm going to show you. But the first way is a single eyelet turnaround. So you only use one of the holes for the looping, and then it just attaches to the head, and you put it down through, and then you string. And that one's okay, but it puts a lot of pressure on the actual eyelet where there's really thin areas of leather. And then when you actually put string through it, it stretches it out, and basically it puts a lot of pressure on the leather instead of kind of dispersing it out into the head. And then a lot of the time you'll see that area wear down and stretch or break. So that's one way that I still do it this way a lot. But that's usually because I do a removable top string with this style, because it moves the leather away from the actual plastic, so it's less likely to fray and break and everything like that. But I'm more than likely going to move away from doing it this style unless somebody specifically asks me to do it. And I mean, again, this is one of the most generally used ones. And then we move into the let's see, double eyelet turnaround, where you use both holes in a traditional leather that you get for lacrosse. You use both holes where you loop with the flat end facing forward, and then you loop it back through from the front back, and then you put the leading end through the second hole, and then you put it through the first hole, and then it looks like this. And this is probably one of the most widely used in comparison to this one. You see this on a lot of people's thing. I used to do this way just because, I mean, it does do this. It supplies structure to the upper part of the pocket, and you see, what is it, Rocket Pocket, all the really popular traditional companies out there, they'll use this style. But whenever you see those really good ones using it, they incorporate the actual stringing into that area in order to make it nice and flat, flush, and not get in the way. But what you see a lot of people doing is they'll string up here, and then they'll put a knot below this eyelet. So this eyelet gets to just shift around and be useless and then get in the way, and it just doesn't look good. And that's part of the reason why I've started to move away from this. Not only that, but it wastes a lot of leather, in the sense that all this leather that's going on, that's flapped over, that's another inch or two that you could get out of the bottom so that you can have a tie off the way that you need it to. Whereas this one, I mean, the first one that I showed you, the single eyelet turnaround, um, that allows you to use the leather, but it also has this second eyelet in the way. And if you don't want two eyelets like that for this style, you cut away the first one, and then you're about an inch short, and that takes away from being able to tie off properly. Hopefully it doesn't. But with the double eyelet turnaround, you definitely lose about that much leather, which unless you're always stringing the same exact head, it's not a problem. But when you're stringing a lot of different heads, you find out that because of the dynamics of the head, maybe your knots and so on and so forth, it can make it difficult for you to tie off the leathers at the bottom, and then such a great pocket, and then it just falls apart because you can't properly tie off at the bottom. Which then moves us into this new one that I want to hopefully get trending. I've seen a lot of people starting to use it. They may think that they kind of came up with it or anything like that, but in all the years I've been doing this, I've never once seen this specific way of attaching a leather. I've seen very similar ones, some wacky ones that look like they'll never work or anything like that, but this is what we're going to call the woven or weaved eyelet turnaround. So you have your set, your det, and your wet. So the woven, actually, as you can see, is almost like an incorporation of both of these into one. But you're incorporating both eyelets, but you're also allowing yourself to get back that almost inch. The wasted space here is essentially used in this one, and then you get, give or take, a little bit of an inch back into the leather in order to do a proper tie off. The way this this turnaround actually works is because of both the eyelets being used, it puts the pressure more on the actual eyelet, the eyelets themselves, instead of the whole leather at the top, while still giving a little bit of structure, much like how people believe this one to do. This one gives a little bit of structure for that top area, but it also allows you to do some interesting things in order to maybe come up with a new style of doing a top coil or anything like that, which I really like about it. So because both eyelets are used, it actually creates this slit. It uses both of the eyelets to create a slit in the middle, so you can probably end up using that to do a top coil or a top V or whatever you want to call them. But it allows you to do a lot, and your knots that you do around that are actually pretty tight. Let me show you what I mean. So I did it in my breast cancer awareness head that I have, and as you can see, the knots they just lock into all the grooves and everything going on because of the wovenness or weavedness. I don't know if it's a proper word or not, but as you can also see, it creates that slit that I was talking about. But so if you're imaginative, I think this will open up a lot of avenues as far as being able to do something new, something creative and whatnot. But it also allows you to use the leather to its fullest. I feel it locks down the leathers well, and even if you put a string through that space like you would normally do to have it the string go up and turn around itself, it allows the pressure to be taken off of the actual eyelets themselves and just be dispersed throughout the turnaround instead of just directly on where the plastic is and then stretching it out. I feel this is a lot more effective, and honestly it just looks good. And if you really want to, you can cut off leather, but as you can see, there's a difference in how the leathers actually work. So the first one, the single eyelet, that one puts the actual the excess of the leather really close to where the scoop in the ground is. So this is going to get real dirty, get real tarnished and torn apart, and then it just doesn't look good. Again, sometimes appearance is part of function. With the double eyelet, again, this kind of just goes everywhere, and then it's kind of down here, and then it gets in. It's like way down here and where all the shooters are, which in some cases it can look good. But then you have this one, which is kind of almost a middle ground, where it's away from the pocket, It's away from the pocket, but it's also away from the scoop at the same time. So you have that nice middle ground to where you can, if you have to or if you want to, you can rake it, but the leathers won't like fold back over top into the actual scoop area. So I feel it's a much more effective way to do the leathers. It looks good. I mean, ever since I strung it up with this one, it doesn't feel like there's excess leather bunching up. It's just a very effective way to do up leather. So what I'm going to do is do kind of like a more or less live showing how to do it, and then at the end of this video there will be a little bit of a like a slideshow in order to show you step by step how to do this leather turnaround, this weaved or woven eyelet turnaround. So excuse me. All right, so what you want to do, depending on the style that you have, whether you like the smooth side or the rough side going in the middle. I mean, personally, I like the smooth side, but everybody has their own preferences. So basically what you do, and for demonstration purposes only, I'm going to have the smooth side facing you guys, which is the actual play side of the head where the ball enters the head. So smooth side facing that way, you feed it up, back through. Now what you want to do is have one eyelet on each side of the hole. First, what you're going to do is you're going to take this tail end, because this is the leading end, because you're still going to be doing stuff with this. So tail end, you're going to put through your second eyelet as such, okay? It'll be a lot easier to tell what's going on once I incorporate the slideshow. But what you want to do is, as you can see, this, maybe you can't see, but the first eyelet that's closest to the tail end is going to be completely through the second eyelet. So it's basically a single eyelet backwards almost. So first eyelet is completely through second eyelet, and then you take the leading end, which is the really long end, and you put that through the first eyelet. So just a second, I'll give you a look. As you can see, it's going through that first eyelet, and then that's going to pull all the way through. And before I even start tightening things down, it's already looking just the way we need it to. So then you tighten it down a little bit, and it locks everything in place. And it's okay if it stretches a little bit, which just means everything's locked in place, and it should not really move too much. But super simple, right? Looks real clean, looks like it belongs that way. And again, you can use this style with a removable top string. It's rather easy to do. And it just looks good. And it looks like the leather is always supposed to have been looking like this. So, as you can see, three differences. These are the two new style, the wet, that's the set, that's the det. So, you guys tell me, does it look better? Does it look like it does more? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say this style gives a lot more structure to the top, making it tighter and whatnot. But if you know what you're doing stringing wise, you can make the actual cross lace and leathers work for you and have a nice tight low profile area like this, to where the pocket's way out here or down here, and the pocket's nice and tight, and then you put in your shooters, and then it keeps the leathers that way. And then if it starts to bunch just a little bit up here, I've always found putting another nylon in there will just fix the issue and stop any bunching or any weirdness that usually goes on with leathers sometimes. But again, I just really like this style of turnaround for the leathers. It just look I'm gonna keep saying it throughout the video. It just looks really good. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I mean, it works with pretty much any of your regular leathers that you see out there. Minlax, unless Minlax has 2 eyelets in it, it's not going to work for Minlax. Otherwise, pretty much everybody's leathers out there that has two eyelets, this will work for. The spacing might be a little different because of how they punch their holes, but more or less, all the leathers that I've messed with, which is pretty much all the major companies out there, your leathers are going to be perfectly fine and be able to do this technique. So I'm going to let you guys go and do the slideshow, and I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching, guys.